Part 2 I call sharing the shepherding load. What I've tried to say in the first part is the elders are to shepherd each other as a vital part of their care of the flock. Now what I'm going to say is that elders ought to, as leaders, what's interesting in this text is that the function of the elders corporately is dealt with in their leadership role. And I'm saying that in that leadership role, it is their responsible to push ministry outward rather than to collect it inwardly. And somehow shepherding is only their turf. I got to tell you, if all the elders were functioning at 120%, doing a marvelous job, the shepherding work would not be complete. It couldn't be, because there's too much work to be done. That's where my friend Jim was talking about one another ministry. Shepherding takes place as the body ministers to itself. Is that not right? Yeah, I now know how much time I've got. Listen to this. Here's a survey that was recently done. 1,500 pastors leave the ministry permanently every month in America. Now, this is not flaky. This is Barna, focused on the family, whatever. 80% of the pastors, 85% of their spouses feel discouraged in their roles. 70% of the pastors do not have a close friend, confidant, or mentor. Over 50% of the pastors' wives feel their husband entering the ministry was the most destructive thing that ever happened to their family. 30% of the pastors said they'd either had an ongoing affair or had one in the past. 71% of the pastors said they were burned out. They battled depression, fatigue on a daily basis. 1 out of every 10 ministers will actually retire as a minister. Now, my first response, and I said it to a group of pastors, was, part of the problem is ecclesiology, folks. Nobody can handle that load. But what's true for one man is true for a small group of leaders as well. And so what I understand when Paul teaches in the scripture is that there must be an offloading, that part of the job of the elder is this corporate job of ruling and leading and guiding the flock so the flock ministers to itself. So that it isn't all the ministry just focus on the elders. I know that in many churches the elders aren't doing what they should. I know that. Even if they were doing what they should still be encouraging other people to do that. Ephesians chapter 4, Paul talks about the building up of itself, the body building itself up in love. He says that apostles and prophets and pastor teachers and evangelists are to equip the body, and they do the work of the ministry. So that elders are to be helping offload ministry and encouraging people who have the diversity of gifts and the diversity of experience. 2 Corinthians 1. God makes us a steward of our sufferings. And when God comforts us in our sufferings, He does so that we may administer that comfort and share it with others, right? If you say to somebody, I've experienced what you've experienced, and here's what God's taught me, that means a lot more than I've never been there, but here's what I say to you. So what I'm saying is, in the gifting of the body, in the administrative function of the elders, in the unique experiences and equipping of each member of the body, one of the things that elders need to do is to recognize spiritual gift, to teach it, to encourage people in their function. And I'm going to say a word that I sometimes say, but I call it leading from behind. Sometimes it's best for leaders not to be in front, because if you stand in front, there won't be a line. Sometimes you need to stand back and say to somebody, you know what? Here's something that needs to be done. And somebody needs to rise to that occasion. If I always open my mouth, if I'm always there, then they're going to look for me to do it. So I've said this. In the shepherding of the flock, the elders are responsible to shepherd themselves. And they are also responsible in an administrative and leadership way to facilitate and encourage shepherding of the body to the body, so that all of the shepherding needs of the body needs to be done.